Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And today, I only brought with me two meditation books. I brought the Melody Beatty, Journey to the Heart, and then I also brought the Melody Beatty, The Language of Letting Go. I looked through these to see what the topics were about today. I did not read the meditations, but I wanted to see what the topics were, and I like both of them, so I thought, oh, these are good topics to read about today. So, the one from The Language of Letting Go is called Who Knows Best, and the one from The Journey to the Heart is called What Would Make You Happy. So, I like to be happy. Do you like to be happy? Okay, let's read from The Language of Letting Go first. July 2nd, Who Knows Best? Others do not know what's best for us. We do not know what's best for others. It is our job to determine what's best for ourselves. I know what you need. I know what you should do. Now listen, this is what I think you should be working on right now. These are audacious statements, beliefs that take us away from how we operate on a spiritual plane of life. Each of us is given the ability to be able to discern and detect our own path on a daily basis. This is not always easy. We may have to struggle to reach that quiet, still place. Giving advice, making decisions for others, mapping out their strategy is not our job. Nor is it their job to direct us. Even if we have a clean contract with someone to help us, such as in a sponsorship relationship, we cannot trust that others always know what is best for us. We are responsible for listening to the information that comes to us. We are responsible for asking for guidance and direction. But it is our responsibility to sift and sort through information and then listen to ourselves about what is best for us. Nobody can know that but ourselves. A great gift we can give to others is to be able to trust in them, that they have their own source of guidance and wisdom, that they have the ability to discern what is best for them and the right to find that path by making mistakes and learning. To trust ourselves to be able to discover through that same imperfect process of struggle, trial and error, is a great gift we can give ourselves. Today I will remember that we are each given the gift of being able to discover what is best for ourselves. God, help me trust that gift. This is a really phenomenal meditation, and I'm like in my head going to so many places that I've gone in my life, you know, and there's been so many times that I think I didn't want to make decisions for myself, so I leaned on the advice and the suggestions of others, and ultimately wouldn't take their advice anyway, did what I wanted to do, which I think is what most people do. It's interesting, you know, it's like when you ask somebody for suggestions or advice and then you do the complete opposite, and then people that give us suggestions or the advice, they take it very, very personally, you know? And I remember my dad said to me, I think this was like in my 20s, I asked him for some suggestions or advice on something, and he said, are you going to take it? Because I'm not going to, like, you know, like, I've given you so much advice and you just don't take it. So do you really want to hear what I have to say? And, you know, what I really realized over time in my own life is, especially as I've gotten older, do you remember that song about the wear your sunscreen? I love that song. But one of the things, and it has all these things like lessons to learn in life, but one of the things that I've learned as I've gotten older is that when you give suggestions and you give advice to other people, it really truly is a form of flattery, because what you feel inside is, I love this person so much that I don't want them to go through the same mistakes that I did. What I have learned is that people have to go through their own journey. And just because I went through something and I resulted and learned this experience doesn't mean that somebody's going to go through something similar and they're not going to learn a completely different thing. And I think that one of the things I've learned is that I have to stay in my path and in my, you know, area, and I have to do what's best for me, and I have to allow other people to do what's best for them. Especially, I think, in the area of unsolicited advice, you know, with close people, friends and family. But when I'm asked, you know, like, often I'll say to people, like, do you really want to know what I think? Or, like, are you know, that doesn't mean that I don't ask people for advice and suggestions. I ask people all the time. I ask my husband, I ask my best friend, I ask my sponsor, and, you know, I ask my therapist a lot of what I should do in situations like that. You know, it's interesting because I talk a lot about my sponsor in my videos, you know, and having a sponsor in recovery and what that relationship should look like. And I think every single sponsor-sponsee relationship out there in recovery looks completely different. So there's not any one way. Every sponsor that I've had, my relationship with them has been so completely different from the next. But I will say that one common theme that I have had with all of my sponsors is that they never told me what to do. Like, they never said, you must do this, or they've always just said, let me share with you my experience of what I went through in this, and take it or leave it. Like, this is just my way of sharing with you what I've gone through. And I think that's powerful. I think the idea of sharing with somebody your experience, strength, and hope and what you've gone through, and not forcing it down their throat, but saying, like, when you're going through, so if they're going through relationship issues, and saying, well, when I was in a relationship, this is what I did. And, it's interesting. I can remember being in my last relationship and knowing that feeling like in my heart that it had kind of come to the end. And I had felt like that for some time and hadn't really talked to anybody about it. And, I at the end was talking to like my best friend about it and stuff like that. But I knew, like, in my heart of hearts, like, that was a decision. This is so weird that I had this clarity at that time, but I knew in my heart of hearts that I was the one that had to make that decision. Like, I couldn't talk to my best friends about it too much. I couldn't talk to, my sponsor at the time about it too much, because I wanted to make that decision on whether I was going to leave that relationship on my own. I didn't want to look back and then be like, well, you told me to do this, or you suggested that I leave the relationship, or you told me, you know what I mean? Like, I knew in my heart of hearts that that was a decision that I had to make on my own and mine alone, and I'm glad I did in retrospect, because there were times afterwards that I was like, God, I wish I hadn't done this. I wish we were still together. And, and I think, like, I had to work through those times on my own and realize that the relationship had come to an end, and now in retrospect, I look back on that and I think, like, I had to go through all of that to be a healthier partner to Alex today in my own relationship. And so I'm glad that I made that decision on my own. And there's been many things like that in my life that, I used to be the person that, like, let's say if I had 5 people in my life, I would go to all 5 people and I would say to them, like, what do you think I should do in this situation? And then the one that gave me the answer that I liked the most, or that matched what I really wanted to do, was the person that I, like, focused in on and listened to and said, okay, what do you think I should do? I would say, oh, you really do think that? Because they were telling me what I wanted to hear already anyway. So I think ultimately, writing down, just writing to yourself and saying, this is what I think, making pros and cons lists of suggestions in our lives, and it's fine to ask for suggestions. I think we should ask for suggestions and advice from people. But if you're going to ask, listen to what they say. Because I think for many, many years, especially in my youth, I would ask for suggestions and advice. And I think it was really, I just kind of wanted to talk. I didn't really want to listen to what anybody had to say, Today, when I ask people, I listen. I do, and, take it and kind of look at it as part of the whole situation of what I need to do with my life and the decisions that I need to make. But ultimately, I think we know in our heart of hearts what's okay for us and what we need to do, and nobody can say that. Nobody can tell us what we need to do or what's right for us. I've made decisions in my life, even just in the last year, where people will be like, why did you do this? Or, what was this decision about? Or whatever, or maybe more in like the last 5 years. And it's like, it was the right decision for me at the right time. Like, that was what I needed to do. And so it's my life ultimately, and I have to make those decisions. So anyway, I think it's interesting. I think it's important to get different suggestions from different people. Like, I think that's been important for me, because one of the things that I have learned over time is that, especially in my recovery, it's been really important. I think, like, if I ask 3 or 4 people, I get 3 or 4 different responses, and like maybe 2 of them are things I haven't even thought of before. Like, have you ever like have an aha moment when you ask somebody for a suggestion or advice and they say something to you and you go, oh my God, I had never even thought of it that way, right? I think that's important, to kind of like, but you have to be open to that. That's the remaining teachable part of staying open to that, So, all right, great meditation. I actually do want to read this one, What Would Make You Happy, because I like the title of this. So I know this is going long, but I'm going to read this one anyway. July 2nd, what would make you happy? Why don't you make yourself happy? Did someone tell you you couldn't be happy? Couldn't let life help you out? It doesn't matter that didn't sound right. But it says, couldn't let life help you out. It doesn't matter who told you you couldn't have what you wanted. What matters is if you're still telling yourself that now. Yes, there are many situations in life in which we need to go without. Do what needs to be done, get the job done. There are times when a particular purpose is served by depriving ourselves. But there are also situations, many more than we think, in which we can have what we want. There are moments when we want what matters. There are moments when what we want matters. Look into your heart. Ask yourself what you want. What would feel good? What would bring joy? Is anything to be gained by depriving yourself a while longer? Get creative. Look around. What are some ways you could give yourself what you want? What could you do to create your life more to your liking? Giving yourself what you want isn't selfish. It teaches others they can have more of what they want from life too. Use your imagination. Set yourself free, let yourself see the pictures, and feel the emotions of what would make you happy. Then take a moment, pause, and smile. You're beginning to get a glimpse of all you can have from God. You know, it's interesting because I'm such a believer in this, and I'm such a believer in making lists and writing out what your dreams are and what you want your life to look like, but then also putting action to that and saying like action steps, like what am I going to do this, right? You know, it's interesting because I can remember 10, 15 years ago starting to watch YouTube and just being so fascinated by the people that I would watch on YouTube, you know, and that they were living these lives on YouTube. And even back at the beginning, they weren't, you know, making any money or having careers on YouTube. And then I can remember when that started, and I was just completely fascinated by this world of people being on YouTube and making videos and talking to people. And do you remember like when a video, like when it first was posted, if it was a video that was going to get like tens of thousands of views on it, but it would go to 301, and then like it would just be stuck at 301 for a while until the number caught up. I needed to snap. Do you remember that? I can remember that and being like, oh my God, I wonder how many views this video is going to get. And I can remember people that I knew their posting schedule. And I mean, I still have people that I know their posting schedule. And so then when I started BookTube, like I can remember like right over there starting my very first video. If I had ever known that it would turn into this thing where I just got up every day and wanted to make several videos, and that, you know, it became this career for me that I absolutely love and I feel so blessed to have, I never, like honest to God, in a million years, I never thought that that was possible, you know? Has it taken me a lot of work and action? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are days where, you know, like I come up with all these ideas, and, you know, back in the day, I mean, Alex and I'd be watching a movie and something would happen. I'd be like, okay, I got to run out and make a video real quick. Let me set up the ring light. And, you know, but I love every minute of it. And I feel so blessed that that is my life. And, you know, as I go into my 50s and I look at things that I want to do with my life, you know, there are two things. And one of them is I really am, I go back and forth between, am I a writer or am I a reader, you know? But I really kind of have this idea of wanting to write a cozy mystery series or several of them. And I also want to work with senior dog rescues. And so those are two things that are really important to me. I have no idea what that looks like in the grand scheme of things now. I have no idea a timeline on it, when it will start, how it will start. I have no idea the action to it yet because I really haven't done like a lot of like detailed outlining of that. But I know that those are things that are important to me that I want to include in my life. And so, you know, going forward, I'm like trying to be realistic about like, okay, do I get involved in this organization? Which organization do I want to get involved in for senior dogs? Do I want to adopt a senior dog? You know, how do I start writing this? I have a cozy mystery outlined, actually. I have two cozy mysteries outlined. How do I want to start this? Do I want to, you know, it's like, that's a lot of dedication to write a book. I've already done it once, you know, it's long hours and stuff like that. So I'm like, do I want to do that right now? You know, what do I want my life to look like? But, you know, I think ultimately asking yourself what makes you happy could be as simple as, like I was watching my neighbor across the street, you know, she probably spends a good hour to an hour and a half every day in her garden walkway, and she just loves it. And she waters things with a watering can, and she's got hoses hooked up, and she's got sprinklers, you know, out there that she moves around, and she fertilizes them, and she brings new plants, and I just love her passion for it. You know, it doesn't have to be anything career-wise. It doesn't have to be anything that you make money off of. It doesn't have to be anything that's going to lead to other opportunities. It could be as simple as a garden in your walkway that makes you and brings you so much happiness. But I think ultimately to ask yourself what makes you happy, you know, it's like One of the things that makes me the happiest is binge watching TV shows. I just watched the final 2 episodes of Stranger Things last night, and I just love that so much. But that's not something that takes me a lot of money. Nothing whatsoever, except for the amount of money I pay for the streaming services a month, and then to be able to sit down for, an hour or two and watch those shows, whatever shows they are at night, and you can do that while you're going to bed. And I don't know, I think it's important to ask yourself, what is it that would make you happy, and find out if there are ways that you can include that in your life. Because the happier we are, I think the happier the people are around us. I think the quality of our life improves. And honestly, when I'm happier and the quality of my life improves, the better the work I'm putting out there into the world, whether that's, my volunteer work that I do, or whether that's, or have done, or whether that's, making videos and I come across as happier and, more content, or whatever that is, in my life. It's like, the happier I am, the people around me are happier, the more productive I am, and it's just, my life moves a lot smoother, so. And that's not to talk about like people that are suffering from clinical depression and things like that. Like, that's a whole other issue where you need to be seeing somebody that's professional and all that kind of stuff. I'm talking about, just the run-of-the-mill daily happiness that I think some of us, I think we don't feel like we deserve it at times. That it's like, like it said at the beginning of this meditation, who told you that you didn't deserve happiness? Well, there's many people that have, many people that grew up in chaos or addiction or abusive situations where basically they were either told outright, or it was, suggested to them that they didn't deserve love and they didn't deserve happiness. And I'm here to tell you that you absolutely do. You absolutely deserve all of the happiness in the world and all of the love in the world. But it took me a long time to be able to say that to myself, It took me a long time to believe that, because I thought the opposite to be true for so long. So anyway, let me know what you think of those meditations. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.